G'day everyone, Turbo Tristan here. Today we are working back on RHonda. I've got a ton of work to do. The last time you saw this car in this garage, it was ready and primed, ready to go to the track for the first time and do a budget enduro. We've since done 6 hours of punishment to this car, absolute punishment. And I'm in the garage today on a Saturday by myself. It's a little bit late, I'm starting at around 11 o'clock and I've got to do all adjustable suspension arms. I've got to take off the sump because the sump plug's threaded somehow, so I've got to try and fix that, put it back on, change the fuel pump, injectors, every single sensor on the car. We've got all these boxes full of stuff down here, boxes over here, more boxes in the car, and get all of that done because hopefully tonight we'll be getting the car tuned by Chong Data. Marlon's coming down from Brisbane to flash tune our race car, so that's going to help us out a ton. But there's a lot of work to do, so let me get this up in the air. I'll show you what it looks like underneath. We did smash over quite a few ripple strips. I'm keen to check out the exhaust. There is an engine light on there, whether it's the O2 sensor or something else, doesn't matter. I'm changing them all anyway, so let's check it out in just a sec. RHonda's up in the air now. I've had a really quick look at it. It's not looking good on quite a few things, but we already knew what we needed to do anyway, and we've already got the parts down here. Let's take a look. I've got the flashlight so you guys can see what's going on. All right, we'll start from the back. Why not? So under the back, what we need to do today is pretty much replace just about all of these arms. They're the original arms and bushes, and we want to adjust the camber and toe and all that sort of stuff. The exhaust and everything in the back held up just fine. No issues there. The rear tires, a little bit cooked, and that's because they're dragging around, just holding the back of the car onto the ground, and they pick up all of the crap off the road. You can see we've used all the way right round, almost to the top of the letters there on the outside edge. This is one of the rims that was on the front when the CV let go. XO exhaust is doing its job, really nice. I'm going to replace this O2 sensor just because we've got a new one from Premier Auto Trade. You can see here the exhaust, I've flattened it out a little bit by hitting the ripple strips. I'll take ownership of that. We'll change this O2 sensor as well. And I need to pull the sump off today because, as you can see here, my bodge job of siliconing it up and trying to stop the oil from leaking out. As you can see, I wasn't 100% successful, but she held for 6 hours and didn't lose too much oil. But I'm going to take that off today. We're going to replace all of the sensors on here, and I might try and have a crack at doing this CV on this side, depending on how much time I have. It's not crucial for what we need to get done today, but I'll pull that out. It's let go here somewhere, or I think it's over here actually, and just flicked grease everywhere. Pretty disgusting. So once we get all this done and changed, I'll get the pressure washer out, give everything a really good clean. We have been tossing up about doing some brake ducts. I'm thinking about pulling the air from here off the back of the fans and shooting it straight into this direction. That way we won't have anything getting in the road of the tire. It's not going to block our airflow through the front, and we'll have some really nice air coming off the back of the radiator here with these thermo fans, just pushing the air straight through. So I might rig something up for that later on. That's a job for another day. First I've got to get all this stuff sorted. So getting to work, guys. I'll bring you along. Once I've done bits and pieces, I'll come back and show you what I've done, but I really need to get to work today. So wheels off, arms out, sump off, let that drain. It's going to be messy because I can't do the plug and drain the oil out, so I'm going to have to pull that off and it's just going to fall out and oil's going to go everywhere, or it's not going to be fun. So not looking forward to that. I'll come back and show you what everything looks like once we've pulled it apart. As you'll see behind me, RHonda is down on the ground and we've got Marlon over there. He's doing his magic on the tune. We're going to come over there in a minute and have a look at what he's doing, but first I'll give you an update. I fixed the sump plug. That was an absolute mission. I pretty much had to undo all of the engine mounts, lift the motor up, change the sump, weld on a new bung. I'll show you that later. Put it all back together, seal it up. We did an oil and filter change. We've done some brand new OEM injectors. We've changed those over. That's these. They'll be available on the Spool Up website. We've done a new cam angle sensor, crank angle sensor. We've done the other cam angle sensor, and we've done the new variable camshaft actuator, so the VCT actuator, we've changed that, and both O2 sensors. Now part of this tune is we're actually disabling one of them, but we've got it in there anyway. Otherwise we're going to have a hole in the exhaust. But yeah, absolute mission. Everything still pretty much looks the same. I just had to clean up the floor. I've still got to change over the fuel pump. I didn't get a chance to do that yet. We're going to do a slight upgrade. We've got all new coil packs, and we've still got the drive shafts to go in. So over here is the man himself from Chongdata. You would have seen him on all of the Honda Accord forums and pages. Pretty well known around Australia, even though he hasn't been here very long. He's storming the world with the CL9 and CU2 and CL7 flash tunes. How's it going, mate?
It's good. Just uploading right now. Probably about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so
we're all done.
Wow, that quick?
That's it.
And what are we getting in this tune? This is a stage 1, is it?
I'm giving you a stage 1.5.
Oh,
yeah.
And what does the 1.5 get us?
A VTEC at 4.5.
Yep.
RPM, rev limit at 7.8.
Yep. Excellent. Wow, we're going to need that on the track.
Yep. Once you upgrade the intake manifold and everything else, we can jump to a stage 2.
Yep, which we definitely will do in the future. We'll change that intake manifold, but as you guys know, it's a budget race car, so we've got to try and do things in little stages. But Marlon was down over the weekend and we jumped at the chance to get him to tune RHonda. 10 minutes, that'll be done. And then we'll also do the CU2 as well. My missus has been complaining it's not fast enough for her. She's a bit of a lead foot. So we'll get that one done as well. And yeah, once we get on the track, we can't obviously drive this one on the street, no number plates, but we'll do a review of the CU2, which is an auto. And then when we get on track, you'll be able to see how much better this one is. And we're really looking forward to it. So we're just doing the final and most important part now, which is putting on the Chongdata Accord Euro Reflash decals. So when we whip everyone on the track, they know who's tuned it. And if anyone else wants to get a tune for their Euro, Marlon goes around all different capital cities, so you can book them in. I'll link his Facebook page in the description, and also I'll put a picture of it just up here so you can recognize the brand, FAH Performance. He operates out of Brisbane, so you can look him up there. If you want to get a tune done or a custom tune, hit him up. And next up, we've got to take the CU2 for a run as well, because that just got reflashed. We're not going to know ourselves with the extra power on both cars, and my missus is going to be very happy. How many of these do you reckon you've tuned?
CL9s?
Yeah.
Flash close to 300.
300 of them. So he definitely knows what he's doing. And if you're into Hondas, you already know this guy anyway, so check him out. Chongdata, everyone's heard of that. Link in the description. Like I said, guys, it's a pretty busy weekend for me. I'm doing most of this on my own, but thankfully Stig's coming around today to help me do the suspension. We've got all those arms to chuck in. Last night with the tune from Chongdata, or Marlon, Chongy, was awesome. We did the CU2 as well as the CL9, and I got to tell you, we can't drive this much on the street because it's not registered, so we've got a permit to drive it to and from the storage place, so we'll test it out then. But the CU2 performed amazingly, heaps more pickup, revs out much freer, smoother drive. My missus jumped in and straight away, we didn't even get out the driveway. She goes, God, it drives so much smoother. So if that's any testament, can't recommend it enough. It just cruises smooth, put your foot down, it goes. There's no mucking around with the auto and all that sort of stuff. So the CL9 has a stage 1.5 tune, so this one will be much more aggressive, and being that it's a manual, it's going to be much better anyway. There's no airflow meter on the CL9, so it'll also help it a little bit more as well. So we're really looking forward to those gains. We absolutely caned the car full of stickers yesterday, all the way around, so everyone's going to know that it's been Chong-tuned, Chong-darted. So yeah, really excited about that. But today, Stig's coming over. I've got to do a bit of cleaning up and then get these arms ready, laid out, so we can have a look at them and get them in the car. But just to recap over what we did yesterday, I know it was rushed. I had to redo the sump pan. So you can see here, I've welded on an exhaust bung. So one of these guys, I welded it on. It's a much bigger mild steel one. I pointed it down further so it will drain quicker and easier. It's a bigger hole, and there's a washer on there, so all good, won't leak, and I've tested it, so it's all sweet, full of oil, ready to go. After that was sorted, I replaced all of the injectors. These are the old ones. They were pretty scummy and gunked up. That was after I cleaned them the first time. Before that, they were caked in muck. So check your injectors, guys. These will be on the Spool Up website, just an OE replacement. We also will have the bigger ones as well if you want to go turbo and stuff. High quality Japanese cam angle sensor. We've got the Delphi sensors for the crank, trigger, and we've got the other cam angle sensor. We did both O2 sensors, and we also did the VTEC variable intake cam solenoid, so that's been changed. So yeah, next up is in-tank fuel pump, and then that's all been gone over. It's good, the oil's good. We cleaned out everything underneath that. The oil pan is now clean as well. Refresh the brakes, refresh the tires, chuck in all of these suspension arms, and then she's ready for round 2 of the budget enduro. One thing I'm thinking about doing is utilizing this space here and the air that's going to be blowing off the back of those fans, and make some ducts in here for the brakes, rather than come in along here from the front and then run some pipe here and then hook it in that way. We might just guide a bit of air through here. There's plenty of space on both sides, and if you recall, we've got the air filter there, so it's going to block that path, but we've got heaps of room here to guide the air in and around and through to the brakes. So maybe that might be a good solution. Who knows? I'll check it out with the other boys and see what they think. Here we have a whole bunch of camber and caster arms to go into the CU2. This is a familiar color, and these are a familiar color. These come from the same factory that another very, very popular and expensive control arm, upper and lower control arm and suspension bush factory that most of you guys have running in your car, and I have running in my car. We were able to track down the factory that manufactures them. Let's just say they've got hardened rubber bushings. We're going to give these a test on the racetrack in RHonda, and in future we'll probably be looking at doing a deal to supply all of the suspension arms for all of the import cars, Hondas, etc., and everything else under the Spool Up brand. So comment below what color you think we should get them made in, and they will be cheaper than the other brand that's the top on the market at the moment. They'll be pretty much exactly the same, so let me know what you think about that below. We're going to get stuck into installing these in the car. We've got front upper control arms with camber adjustment, we've got rear upper control arms with camber adjustment, we've got the rear toe arms with toe adjustment, and then we've got all of the other, I'm not even sure what they're called. There's so many arms in the back of these things with all of the different adjustments. We're probably not going to put them all in, to be fair. Probably just the camber and toe and the camber in the front, but we do have all of the arms anyway, and we'll see how we go. Stig's turned up, he's over there, and we're going to get stuck into working on RHonda. So I've taken the first arm out, and with the fuel filler, the brake lines, the subframe, ABS sensors and everything all in the road, let me tell you, that was a mission. We've got it out. Let's check out the difference. So fully adjustable all the way in and out, brand new hardened rubber bushes, brand new ball joints. So yeah, she's going to be nice and tight in the rear end. New hardware, everything, so these are definitely the go. So we got the new arm in, all nipped up nice and tight on the top. The next one we're doing is this one, which is the nice and easy one to get to, and this one is going to help us adjust the toe in and toe out, so that's which way the wheels point on the back, so like pigeon toed or toe out, so that's why they call it that. And this one's a nice easy one. We're going to leave this top one because we don't want to overcomplicate things, and we're going to leave the front one because that sets up our track width, and the bottom one's going to just help us with our toe. So we're going to leave these ones alone for now. If we need to adjust them, we've got spares. Otherwise we're just doing camber and toe and then over to the front. And here are the new tow arms. So we've got to extend this one quite a bit, but it's a lot more beefier. Plus we've got the full adjustment, and we don't need to muck around with those camber pins anymore. We just adjust it from the middle, set that all to its maximum lengths, and then adjust it from the inside. Moving on to the front now, we've got the front camber arms out. So these are the brand new road safe arms which we just chucked in. They've done 1.5 track days, and now we're moving over to the hardened bushed replacement top quality arms in that really nice blue color. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to look at getting these made up, but in spool up brand and color in the future. They come from the same place as another high-end arm, so they're made to all the same specs. We're going to stick these in. What I've done to set the camber is I just eyeballed it and made it slightly further in than this one. I just took a guess at it, eyeballed it, and what I did is I put a couple of sockets in behind there that were the same thickness, slid that all the way down so that's right, and then I just snipped them up. I'll use the same sockets when I do that one. That way they're at least the same, and then when it gets to the wheel alignment shop at Petters Dandenong, they can sort that out and get it all dialed in exactly. But time to throw these back in the car. Front camber arms all installed now. Nice and simple job. I managed to do it the lazy way without taking the coilovers out. And one thing you'll see here are these grind marks. Now, like I mentioned before, these are from the same place as a very expensive arm. By me fitting them, doing the R&D, when you go to full compression and bump, this actually rubs on the top of here and would, on a street car, make quite a bit of knocking noises. We don't want to have any interference when we're on the track as well, so bashing over those ripple strips as you saw. So by clearancing this, we've taken some photos and we'll send it back to the factory and make sure that the spool up version of these, which, you know, 6 months to a year time, when I finally can afford to get into that, we'll get some made and brought down. And we don't need these extra tabs on here, so we've cut those off. These are for the ABS lines, so you just need one on one side. So we've learnt something, fixed something, and now we have fully adjustable camber arms here in the front. So the last thing we're going to do in today's video is refresh the fuel system. We've done the injectors already, you've seen that a couple of times. What I'm doing now is I'm changing out the fuel pump sender unit. I decided to get a head start on it just to see how difficult it was, and if it was going to be too hard to change, I was just going to put the standard one back in. But Premier Auto Trade jumped on board. They sent us out a brand new fuel pump OEM replacement unit, but they also sent us an upgraded pump. So I've actually already gone ahead and swapped it out. They look exactly the same, they're exactly the same size, plugs the same, and they come in this plastic unit here that has the built-in hose feed. It's also got the built-in Duvalaki for the fuel sender, regulator. Everything's all built in here in one unit, and we've swapped it out with a genuine Denso from PAT. This is an EFP 320. This fuel pump is 240 litres per minute, so we've upgraded that just slightly. It'll help just to make sure we don't run out of any fuel or anything mid-corner. It's always going to be sucking and pumping all the right amounts of fuel. And this was actually really easy. I was a bit scared about doing this, but it's just a matter of popping off all of these one-way tabs. Everything just comes apart in 3 pieces. Straight swap everything out, plug it straight back in, off you go. So I'm just going to do that and then go over to removing the old one from the car. And just like that, a couple of 8mm bolts on top, undo a plug and a hose, and off you go. And we have the fuel pump out. Everything is looking exactly the same, but we've obviously got a filthy dirty filter and an old clapped fuel pump that's done over 250,000 Ks. Some of it quite hard driving. So swap that out with the brand new 240 litre pump and swap it all over, stick it back in, and we should be mint. That's going to wrap up this update on Rhonda. Stig's gone home, Rhonda's gone home back to her house. She's got her own house, the lucky girl. The VL is out. You'll notice it's not here anymore. It's out getting wired up by Vel. We'll talk more about that once it's done and back, but it's almost ready to go. I've got to swap all the sensors and things out on my engine as well. As you know, this is just a Wrecker CL9 engine, just like was in RHonda. Keep it all running nice, swap out all those sensors. That way we won't have any issues. I do get a bit of a intermittent flicker of the on the Haltech, tells me that the sensors are playing up a bit, so we'll change those. But big shout out to Stig. Thanks so much for getting those arms from that world famous factory with your hookup. We will be looking at getting some done for spool up, and that'll cover all of the range as well. So it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. I got to use my awesome new air compressor today, which I unpacked, super quiet. It's a Viking Force air compressor, and Stig loved it so much he's going to go and grab himself one, so highly recommend. And also, most importantly, thanks so much, massive shout out to FAH Performance, Chongy from Chong Data, the man, the myth, the legend. He turned up and he rocked our world with a couple of tunes on the CU2 and the CL9. If you want to see more about the CU2 tune, drop a comment below. The CL9, I drove it back to the warehouse on a permit, so we did get to test that out, and it's incredible with the VTEC kicking in much, much lower. So massive shout out to Chongy. But that's it for today's video. Thanks so much. Don't forget to bring the boost, spool up, and we'll see you in the next video. All the links will be in the description.